everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do something a bit different and it's more of like a casual vlog because I thought that we could do a sew along. So in my last video you heard me talk about the cocoon dress. My mum has now made 6 of them and I still haven't made mine, so I thought the only way I'm going to get to do it is if I film myself doing it, then it's for YouTube, then I tick off my video and I get to make my dress, because otherwise I'm just not going to have time to do it before Christmas. So a little backstory behind this. This is the pattern I got free with Sew Now magazine ages ago now. In fact, I can tell you what issue it is. It was issue 8. So yeah, quite a long time ago, maybe a few months. And I saw the pattern that came free with it and I was like, oh, I love that pattern. And then inside they obviously show you variations that you can do yourself. And this one was printed in the magazine, and it's this gorgeous like pink linen fabric in a rosy pink, and well, it's actually a linen cotton blend, and I instantly fell in love with it and I just thought that's exactly the cocoon I'm gonna make. So the linen cotton blend is from Dragonfly Fabrics, so I went straight to their website and I bought the exact fabric. So basically I'm just copying their version, but I love it, I love the colour and I love the style of this dress, so I thought it looks good, I'm just going to make the same one. So I've got my fabric that's been washed and it's just been folded up ready for me to make this, so I thought that you could watch me sew it and then you can see if I come across any problems. So let's get sewing. Okay, so there's not actually that many pieces to do. And I am going to do the sleeveless version like the picture, so I don't need the sleeve piece either. So there's only about 5 pieces to cut out, which is easy. And I am one of those people that traces patterns, so I'm going to get my tissue paper and I'm going to trace my size. So I basically use tissue paper most of the time to trace because 1, it's really cheap, and 2, it's just really easy to trace because obviously it's so thin, but obviously they don't last as long. So I know I have used the Swedish tracing paper before and it is obviously 10 times better, but it is just way more expensive, and I have a ton of white tissue paper, so I'm just going to use it. Basically when I do this I just follow every single line on the pattern, and then I also write down what it is, which I will do now, because when it's all folded up and then I have like a folder of poly pockets, you know, like the clear plastic poly pockets. Well, I call them poly pockets, I don't know what you call them. And sometimes I forget what pieces are, so I always write down exactly what it is, and then when I come to it, it's easy. So back, cut 1 on fold, and it's piece 2. That's easy. Don't forget to draw on all the notches as well. Right, now I'm just going to check in the pattern whether the seam allowance is included in this. It does say here seam allowances of 1.5 centimetres and they're stated. So I'm going to go on the assumption that it is included. I'm sure it will be fine. So I'm just going to cut this piece out. Oh, I should also write down what size it is, just in case. So I'm just now going to check that I've got all the notches in the right place. So what I do is I just look along and make sure that I have marked, oh I missed that dot. See, you always miss something. I mean, it's just for the pocket placement, but include it always. Right, so that's one piece done, 4 to go. Okay, so the fabric's laid out and I'm just looking at the layout plan, so the pattern, and it's very straightforward, so I'm just going to copy exactly what they've done in the order that they've done it, and then I'm just going to start cutting them out. This is my current pattern weight situation. Okay, so I've got all my pieces cut out now. I just need to put some interfacing on the back of the neck facings. And then, what's first? Right sides together, stitch the front bodice pieces together along the centre front and press seams open. Okay, perfect. Easy peasy. Okay, so I've interfaced both the neck facings now. So all I need to do is join these two front pieces together. Luckily it's plain fabric, and I've looked at the weave quite closely, and I really don't think that there's a front and a back. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to pin all the way along this centre front seam, and then I'm going to stitch it on my sewing machine. Okay, so the pattern calls for the seams to be pressed open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this raw edge here on my overlocker before I do that. So I'm just going to open it out and then overlock both sides of the raw edges separately so that I can still press it open. So I've just overlocked each side of the raw edge, and now I'm going to press this open. And I know I've done it in white, but I didn't have enough pink for my overlocker, and to be honest, I'm lazy, so it's going to be white. Okay, so here I have my lovely centre seam all pressed out, and I actually really like the centre seam. So the next thing is to join the neck facings together. So I just need to put them right sides together like so, and then pin these top edges and sew them both with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, and then press these open like so. And I probably will do is overlock the raw edges again, even though they're interfaced. I just feel like it would look a bit neater. Okay, there we have the neck facing done. So it'll be like that, but obviously that way around, attached onto the inside. So what is next? Right sides together, join the front and back dress panels together at the shoulders. Press seams open. Okay, so easy. We're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to pin the back piece to the front at the shoulders, and then sew my 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, and then I'll probably just overlock the raw edges again and press them open. Easy. Okay, so I've sewn my shoulder seams together. This is the front, this is the back, and then I've overlocked the edges of them and then pressed them open. So now, right sides together, pin and then stitch neck facings to the front back bodice using a 1 centimetre seam allowance, pivoting the needle at the V. Trim down the seam allowance and clip into seam. Okay, easy peasy. So I'm going to turn this right side up and I've got to pin this together. So all the way around with a 1 centimetre seam allowance, and then trim it to 1/2 centimetre and then clip the curves. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I've sewn the neck facing to the dress and with a 1 centimetre seam allowance, and then I've trimmed it to 1/2 so that it's really narrow, and then you clip in to the V at the front so that it can turn all the way around really neatly. And I've also cut some little V's on the curves at the back of the neck. So I'm just gonna, I'm not sure if I have to press it inside now, I better read that. But now I think it's onto the sleeves. Okay, so now it's time to attach the sleeves, but I'm actually going to do the short sleeved version, so I'm not adding any extra pieces. And with the short sleeved version you use a bias binding instead, so they're asking you to do that now, but what I don't want to do is have a neat finish and then when I join the side seams in to have that sort of bulk on the inside. I want to hide that in, so I'm going to do the bias binding on my sleeves after I've done the side seams. So next I'm going to ignore that for now, and I'm going to do the pocket. So all it's asking you to do is to lay it out like that, so that front and back, and then to pin the pockets one at a time, lining up the notches where they're supposed to be, so that when you flip them together on top of each other, the pockets will all be sticking out like that. So I just need to pin all the pockets in the right places, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so the pattern says right sides together, attach the pockets and stitch from A to B, so from the point to the bottom, using a 0.5 centimetre seam allowance. So I'm just going to overlock that, but it looks like they haven't said it on there and there's no markings on the actual pocket piece of the pattern, but it looks like there's a little gap top and bottom, and this is so that you can obviously join around the curved edge easier. So I'm going to leave about a 1.5 centimetre gap at the top and bottom, and then overlock the centre, and then you put the dress right sides together, so with the pocket sticking out, and then you do the curves. And again, I'm going to do that on the overlocker. So firstly I'm going to use my overlocker to do the straight stitching, leaving a little gap top and bottom, and then I'm going to do the right sides together and stitch the rest. Okay, so the pattern asks you next, I've joined the pockets like so, and I've just pressed them out towards the pocket so that the seam lies nice and flat. Now, the pattern asks you to sew around this curve and then separately sew afterwards from the armpit to the top of the pocket, and then the bottom of the pocket to the hem. But I don't know why you can't just do it all in one. So this is I mean, there might be a reason, but I'm being a rebel and I'm just going to go for it. So I'm going to sew from the armpit around the pocket and all the way to the bottom hem in one go, and then if I mess it up I will let you know so that you don't do the same thing. Okay, so I did do it, and so far I mean, it looks fine. I've checked it from the inside as well, and because I checked it from the inside, I didn't come far enough down here to cut into the pocket because the back was slightly a different size, because I obviously just moved and cutting or whatever. So I did have to just put a little extra bit coming in further there. Now, so far, it doesn't look like it's made much difference, but I'm sure it will be different once I've tried it on. It may be that it just looks neater and more finished if you do it separately. One thing to consider is the different seam allowances. So this is a 0.5 seam allowance and this is 1.5. So I took that in 1.5, and when I got to here I just angled it and then went right on the edge with my overlocker instead, changing the seam allowance, and then when I came around here I then went cut in further and then did normal 1.5 going down here. So I mean, it's a lot quicker, so I'm just going to do the other side like that, and then once I try it on I'm sure we'll probably be able to notice what I did wrong. Okay, so please ignore the mess in my bathroom and my reflection with the camera, but this is the dress on. Now, I don't think the seams have made that much difference doing it in a different way. You might be able to tell. I feel like I need to top stitch the collar down a little bit. as in edge stitch it on the facing so that if it curls under a bit neater, because I feel like without it it's going to flap up the other way. But so far I'm really happy with it. I mean, all I need to do is hem it. I'm going to hem it probably overlock the edge and then fold it up an inch. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I mean, I know it looks weird over a red stripy jumper, but you know. Okay, so just as it starts to get dark, I'm finishing off. So I overlocked the raw edge of the hem, and then I ironed it up about an inch and a bit to where I wanted it, and then I just top stitched it down from the front. And then I also added a little edge stitch on the inside of the facings around the neck so that it would lie flat and nice and neat on the inside when I wear it. I think I'm gonna, it doesn't tell you to, but I think I'm gonna overlock the raw edge of the interface neck facings as well, just so that they look a bit neater. And now I just need to do the sleeves. So basically I'm gonna use bias binding, and the way I would do this is I just pin it, the bias binding, right sides together on the right sides of the dress, and then I start from the armpit seam and I go all the way around with, I'm thinking, a 1 centimeter seam allowance, just so I have a bit more of a drop shoulder. And then basically what I do is I turn this underneath like that, and then I just top stitch it down from the front so that this is all sort of hidden on the inside. And again, before you top stitch it underneath, I'm just going to edge stitch it round like I did with the neck facing. So the way you do this, if you've never done it before, if I can get it to focus, is once this is sort of pulled out away from the dress, you then sort of pull it away as you're sewing it round and just top stitch it. So you sort of top stitch the inside of the raw edge as well. So you're sort of top stitching that down to the inside. It's probably clearer to show you on like a little cut bit like that. Can you see that's the line that it's sewn, and that's the edge stitching just on top catching it. So it means that all the seams are towards the facing, so it makes it roll under a bit better. And that way you can't see it from the outside, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to do exactly the same one here. So I just need to go around the bias binding with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then roll it under, edge stitch it, and then fold it under, and then top stitch it down. So I'm going to do that now, and then I hopefully will wear it to finish this vlog before the sun goes down, because it's going down right now. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what I have done. So basically you may have wondered why I've pinned it like that, so that this bit's still tucked under, and that's because I don't have any thinner bias binding on me, and I don't want it to be too, I don't want the top stitching to be really obvious on the sleeve. So basically this is the top stitching from this, the front side, the right side, and then on the inside it looks like this, so it's a lot narrower and smaller on the inside, so it's not as bulky, and it's a bit neater and a bit more dainty. Because basically if I did it on that edge and then folded it under, then this line here would be a lot further over and it would be way more obvious and a bit thicker all the way down, and I didn't want that, so that's why I've done it like that. And yes, I know it's not the exact same colour, but I still like it. Okay, so it's a bit dark now, so it's probably bad lighting, bad angles, just bad camera stuff. But basically I've finished. I'd say all in all, I mean, this took me all day, but I was working in between, doing bits here and there. So I reckon if you had a whole afternoon to work on this dress, you could definitely get it finished in that time. And you know what? I'm actually really happy with it. It is quite a simple pattern in terms of like putting it together, but there are a few elements where you just sort of do need to concentrate, or you know, like I cut corners by, you know, doing the side seams all in one and things like that. So for a first timer, if you are new to dressmaking, I definitely recommend this pattern. I think the fit's really nice. I didn't have to make any adjustments. It's like a loose Japanese style fit of dress, so you don't really have to worry about the fit that much. I like the length of it. I like, I chose the short sleeves and I'm really happy I did that. I think it looks really good in this fabric. So yeah, overall, I'm really, really happy with it. Obviously, the lighting is too bad now to take full-length photos of it. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow or over the weekend, I'm going to take some nicer photos, and then I'll probably upload some photos on my blog, which is jesselyblog.com. So if you want to head over there, maybe like Sunday night to Monday, they should be on there by then, and then you can see like the dress in full. But I hope you enjoyed like a bit of a different video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and please comment below if you have any questions about anything that you've seen in this video or anything about my messy studio. But yeah, and if you did enjoy it and you would like me to do more sew-alongs, please let me know if you like the style of this, where I haven't really just sat a camera down in one corner and just sewed all day. Or let me know how you want me to do it, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you did enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week for another video. Happy handmade, everyone!